go right to questions, a little bit different. We do have a microphone in the room today, so wait for that to get to you before you ask the question. We'll repeat it. Whenever you're ready, we'll begin. Brett?
Coach, coming out of your bye week here, what would the message be to fans? That long term, you're still on track where you want to be, even though short term kind of stuff is on?
Well, I don't know about the last thing that you said. I think the biggest thing is that we need to get better, and you need to be able to find improvement in certain areas, and we're striving to do that.
Hey, Coach, so first time we've got a chance to talk to you since before you made the coaching change. When you made the coaching staff change mid-season, I'm assuming it was for a significant reason. Was there something specific that happened in that last game, or was it an accumulation of things, and what are you hoping to accomplish with that?
I think the big thing is we're trying to get is a change. I already mentioned previously that I just need to see something different, and I just thought we weren't moving in the direction that I thought that we should be moving in based off of what the last thing that I saw. It wasn't one thing. It was a lot of things, which I'm not going to go into, because unlike other professions, when something like this happens, it's really extremely personal. You're talking about someone that has been a part of our family for a long time, and his family, his daughters, his son, and his wife has been a part of our family for a long time, and they're still in this community. So even though something like that happened, which is unfortunate, I expect to see if it's going to be different and see if we can make it different, knowing that that change was very difficult to make.
Brandon?
Coach, knowing that you did make that change, looking to see something different, what have you seen under Coach Stinnard in the week and a half since?
Well, I think some of that stuff in practice, obviously he's done some things that are different in practice, but that doesn't mean those things are going to show results. Okay, the biggest thing that I want to see is results on the football field, just like everyone else in the community. And we'll see if we're going to get those results when we get down to North Carolina, when we're playing Duke.
Stephen?
Curious, you said you needed a change. Why was Brian the guy you chose to change, and why now as opposed to at the end of the season?
Again, I thought if we're going to get a change, we need to see it now. I didn't think we were going to have change if I didn't do it yet. And I think the biggest thing is, I've already mentioned, is I feel like we have really, really good defensive personnel. And some of the things that were going on defensively, even though there's issues all over the place that we're addressing, is I think jumped out the most because I really feel like we have some really good defensive personnel that just weren't playing at a high level.
When you talk about needing it now, you obviously have 3 games left in the regular season. What do you want to look for, and how are you assessing kind of Steve and the long-term picture of the defense?
I think the biggest thing is just something different. And I keep saying the same thing because it's as simple as that we want to see something different than what we've seen. The first time I got in here, we talked about a vision and how I envision this place being. And I don't see the vision. So we need to do something different, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting to have something different happen. So we need to do something different, and I decided to make a change, so we did. It's not something that I'm happy with. It's the first time it's ever happened in my career, and it's not something that I'm going to sit here and boast about, because it hurt me deeply. But I have a responsibility to not only the community and the administration, but also the members on this football team, to try to do everything possible, okay, to find a way to win our next football game.
Just to follow up on that in regard to Steve, how are you assessing him in the last 3 games? Are you expecting to look at outside people as well, depending on how this goes?
I'm going to keep a blank slate. We're going to see how it goes, and he can start painting his portrait.
Thank you.
Brandon?
Nice line over here. Coach, we still haven't seen McKinley-Williams yet this season. Is there a consideration, since we're past the 8-game mark, of a possible redshirt?
It's always a possibility that he's going to redshirt. Let me back this up. These past 8 games, he's going to redshirt. I'm always hoping that someday we may see him, but I'm not going to bank on it. I'm not going to bet on it.
Mark?
Back to what you were saying at the end of that last response about do it whatever it takes. I think making that decision mid-season set
Well, I think the main thing is we need to talk about Duke University. Coach Cutcliffe does a fantastic job. I've been in the 4 years that I've been in the ACC meetings, I can humbly say that I think that that guy is the smartest guy in the room. And that's I'm not talking bad about any other coaches. It's just that when you have a conversation with David Cutcliffe, you understand the knowledge that flows through him. And we have a very, very difficult task to be able to not only play well, but be able to try to get our defense to play well on a guy like that knows so much offensive football. They're doing a little bit of a Georgia Tech's old run game, tied in with some of their vertical passing game that they had years before with the quarterback from the Giants and all that kind of stuff that the kids that's up there now. And I just think he makes it very, very difficult on defenses. For us to be able to match what they can do offensively is a tall task. So we have a very, very big task. But if we can find a way, then it gives us a chance. We're not looking further than anything other than trying to play a lot better than what we have been, okay, against Duke this week.
Just to follow, I mean, the perception after the loss of college game, I think for a lot of people that the season's over. This team still has a chance to get to a bowl.
We still got a heartbeat, you know, it's not over, but we've got to start doing something. This new microphone thing, this gives me some break in between questions.
Dino, I'm curious through 2 games, kind of what you've seen from Matthew Bergeron and how you kind of assess his play.
He's getting better. You know, the biggest thing about Matthew, and you never know, you know, I used to work with a head coach, and he used to have this line. He says, when freshmen or guys that have never played in a game get into a football game for the very first time, he used to say, they hardly know their name. I'm like, what? They hardly know their name. They get in and they can't remember the first 3 or 4 plays they did. Now, they could have did them right, but they still don't remember what in the heck happened because everything is going so fast. And I thought he was okay the first game for playing in his first collegiate game, and he did some better things the second time. So he's progressing and he's getting better, which is what we all need to do. So he's in an exciting situation right now, and right now we're happy that we got him, and I don't want to jinx him. He needs to continue to get better, but if he continues to get better, we'll feel better and better about this thing, especially when it gets into next year.
For any younger guy coming in like that, as a true freshman, do you think it's harder mentally or physically?
Well, usually it's harder physically, but Matthew he's not a normal freshman. He's stronger and bigger than what you think he is. Now, he's not, he's not full grown, okay, because he can be a lot stronger and he will be a lot stronger. But he's not weak for a freshman. And so for the physical standpoint, he's getting beat sometimes, but he can hold his own. He's doing an okay job. The big thing is mentally, penalties, keeping his emotions under control. You know, somebody will say something to him and, you know, he'll go crazy, and I'm like, God, that's part of the game. What did he say to you? I'm like, oh, I heard that back in '74. I mean, guys are going to say stuff like that to you. Get over it. Get to your next snap. Don't let it affect your play. So he's doing well, and he's one of the guys that we're happy with, but we don't want to jinx him.
Andrew, Dino, I remember you said a couple weeks ago about the Clayton pass to Todd, the 94-yard, there's a lot of rules free on that play. I asked players about the rules.
Oh, yes.
I'm curious where those originate from, if they're sort of your own creation or a spin on something from another coach you played for or worked with, or
My own creation.
Could you tell me how they sort of came to you?
Just thought about the things that were really important to keep a team together, things that were family-oriented, and tried to cut, or you eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and you have the crust and you really don't like the crust, and you got some of those people that cut all the crust off. I like the crust, but they'll cut all the crust off and just eat the middle part. That's kind of how the rules are. There's a lot of rules that you can have, but if you want to be really good with the rules, limit them and make sure everybody learns them. So that's what we did.
Do you think because they're rather simple, they sort of make it a very sort of easy starter for the culture you want to build?
Just the opposite. I think because they're very, very easy and simple, it tells you how complex it is to be in a family, on a football team. But if you can't handle these three, then you can't get to the complexity.
And I know you talk a lot about family and wanting everyone to feel like they're a part of this in the team, not us.
You guys are, crazy as this sounds, you guys are part of the team. It is crazy sounding, isn't it?
It is. Firing Barnes is tough, and I think it's a moment for the players to kind of, I don't know, I mean, it could be, could affect them a number of different ways. How have you seen the team respond, and how do you kind of deliver that message to them? Probably the toughest one you've had to since you got here, right?
The message I delivered was the truth. And I think as long as you're dealing with the family and you're telling them the truth, and there's no gray about how you present it, I think that they can understand what you're saying. It doesn't mean they necessarily agree with what you're saying, but they do understand where you're coming from. I think that's the first part. I can't remember the first part of your question. I know that was the second part I answered, but I can't remember the first part.
I know it's just a little bit of practice and it's the bye week, but how have you seen them kind of respond to that, Steve?
You know, I'm going to say it's positive because we've had positive practices, but the only thing that matters is what happens in the game. Okay? So that's what you guys are interested in. That's what the community and administration and everybody else is interested in. So I think they've handled it positively in this room. I think they've been positive on the football field. Let's see if we can get some positive results out of it.
Thank you.
It does not sound like you want to move away from the North Dakota State defensive philosophy that Brian and Steve are so familiar with. Is that accurate?
No. I'm open to all things. And when you've been around long enough, I've seen a lot of offenses, I've seen a lot of defenses, and all of them are effective as long as your personnel and everybody can do and understand what you're trying to do. So I don't think there's one defensive style that's better than another defensive style. I think there's defensive styles that fit defensive players, and if you have those players, you need to make sure you're running certain styles. I think that made sense the way I said it. It's all based off of who you have and what you're trying to do, and whether you can continuously go and get those people so that you can be consistent in your recruiting and not inconsistent in your recruiting.
Whether it's Steve or someone from outside, do they have the latitude to essentially with their defensive staff really looking to hire one person?
That's too much information and too far down the road for me to go through that at this time. I need to wait and see what happens.
Time for two more questions, Brett?
Coach, you mentioned wanting to see something different on the field. How does that involve doing something different 9 games into the season? Where's the balance of trying to switch things up so you can do it? I think I've already answered the question, but I'll reiterate again. I think when you see something, it's not that I've seen something 9 games into a season. I've seen something 5 years. Okay? I know what we're doing. I know what we're trying to do. And I just felt like it was time to do something different based off of all that time, not just one season.
Last question, Matt.
Dino, it seems like even though what's transpired so far this season, it hasn't affected your recruiting efforts. I mean, you guys, obviously I know you can't speak on that, but have landed some pretty significant commitments. Well, how has the sales pitch to these kids gone even throughout the midst of what you guys have seen this season?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that they're all excited that I'm going to be here. And that they know that I'm going to be here. I'm not going anywhere, even though that's exactly what I've been telling them. But it's not what they've been hearing from outside sources. So they're excited that we're going to be here. They think that we're on the right track. They like what they see, or they wouldn't come. And again, you guys, to me, more importantly than what's going on with the football part of it, when you have an opportunity to get an academic education from a private institution like Syracuse, and that degree is going to carry you a long time, okay, and everywhere that you go, that's an extreme positive. So as long as you can break even on the other part, you should have an opportunity at some good recruits. And I think we do have some opportunities. Are we getting everybody that we want? Not yet, but we're happy with the guys we're getting more. The biggest thing about recruiting is not who you get, it's making sure you don't take the wrong ones. And I think we do a decent job of evaluating and trying to stay away from the wrong recruits so that we can have more of the right ones. Thank you, guys. That is the first question that you've asked in I don't know how long, maybe. And Mark, it's good to see you back.
Doesn't do that.